Hello and welcome to another Monday report by Bordier. Before returning to the situation in Iran, last week was marked by the decisions of the Swiss and US central banks. As expected, the SNB cut interest rate to zero with no noticeable impact on the markets. The Fed, meanwhile, opted for the status quo approach, leaving rates unchanged, but the important thing is more in its forecasts. In short, the US central bank is counting on higher inflation and weaker growth than previously, a more stagflationary scenario, and a position made more difficult with the uncertainty over future tariffs. And we can't prove him wrong. US statistics show a deceleration in the economy. Building permits and housing starts were still down and below expectation for the month of May, and retail sales were down 0.9% on the month, perhaps as a backlash to April's good pre-tariff figures, but maybe not. The situation in Iran resulted in a further 3.4% rise in oil prices and, above all, a more risk-averse stance from investors. The dollar index regained 0.5%, and US and German treasury bonds, for example, posted a positive performance, while US and European equities declined. On the economic front this week, we'll be keeping an eye on the PCE inflation index in the US, the one most closely monitored by the Fed, and the manufacturing and services PMIs, which will provide a further update on the business cycle. But it is obviously developments in the Middle East that will remain in the spotlight. Our scenario at this stage is that of a relatively isolated Iran, operating with its proxies to retaliate against the US interests, but without any major reaction from its theoretical allies, in particular Russia and China. This could result in a temporary rise, in our view, in oil and LNG prices without leading to a major market correction. We would, of course, revise our views in the event of a change of scenario and a more global escalation. In our portfolio, we are buyer of Airbus. The messages sent out by the aeronautics industry in the Paris Air Show, the world's biggest, are reassuring about the possibility of increasing production rates. This is crucial for Airbus, whose management is aiming to deliver 820 aircraft in 2025, compared with 766 in 2024. That's all for today. Thank you all for listening and see you next week.